Hi, and welcome to Just the Facts, episode number. He's got to do a lot of fingers. 14. We're on number 14, and we're going to be talking about sales and service relationships. And I know you guys tuning in that are listening to us or watching us on one of the podcasts out there really want to know, like, what is that relationship between sales and service? Is there a relationship between sales and service? And joining me in studio, right next to me, I can actually physically touch him, is Mr. Bob Grill. It's been a while.
It's been a long while. Very excited to be here. Very excited to be able to do it in person. Uh, online is online, but in person's a whole lot better.
I agree with you 100% on that. And so it's going to be a fun podcast today, right?
Yeah,
So
we'll
we're going to
probably hit the mics and screw up, but that's
yeah,
all right.
we will, and we got to talk right into the mics too. So we're learning, right? It's almost like we're rookies all over again,
Yeah,
right?
get
With
the
this
rust
whole
off.
studio stuff, and it's been a fun day, and so we're talking about sales and service. So those of you that have been joining us for a while on our episodes, if you've hit all 13 episodes previous to this, congratulations, that's awesome. And we do have a couple of those that are
We
out
do.
there, some diehard fans out there that do like to listen to us. I don't know why exactly, but
It must be you.
it might be me. It might be me that's out there. But we've been talking about inventory, and we're continuing that conversation because this is the biggest pain point that dealers have today. You watching us have today is finding good quality inventory. And so, what we really want to focus in on today is that relationship with service and those vehicles coming in to the dealership and with sales and how we can help manage that. And we have a special guest today. And so we haven't had one for a little while. So it's going to be pretty cool. We've had some really great guests, and this is not one that goes away from that, meaning we have a great guest today, too.
Absolutely
Right.
do.
We do. And so we'll mention who that is in just a minute. So I do want to start the conversation with you though, Bob,
Okay.
on this because you spent a lot of time in some operations at a dealership with like handling operations from the sales point of view, right?
Yep.
So in that experience and moving into today, because it's a different world today, like what is that relationship right now in your opinion and how can it improve? Just one little nugget before we bring in our guests about how that relationship can improve.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, that at times has been strenuous at best, strained, if you will. Uh, but it is vital today for a dealership that's going to make it in today's times with the struggles of inventory, with the fight to get all the customers you can, with the fight to be profitable. All the teams have got to work together in synchrony. And now more than ever, if a dealership manages to get its sales and its service together, uh, they're much better off than traditional methods of fighting each other, maybe not even liking each other. For traditional methods, the dealerships had them on pay plans, even that would drive them apart, right? But now more than ever, it's critical to rethink the way dealerships are structured because you absolutely need service and sales to work in harmony. And if you do that, it's a multiplier effect for sure.
So I like to add some personal experience
Sure.
in every now and then when we're on these, right? And so I had an experience in a service department where they actually asked me about my Jeep. And so that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's like, Kate, we'd love to have this inventory. I think those are some best practices.
Yep.
But I also noticed a banner on their wall and it talked about giving me a free appraisal.
Right.
And so, how does that play into like, what's the benefit of that with the dealership? Should more of them be doing that? We start to see more banners of, we'll buy your car.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
how does all that stuff play in?
It actually works very well, but it's more difficult than it would seem. And what makes it more difficult, it's the mindset, right? The whole goal there is to obtain inventory whenever you're offering a free appraisal or whenever you're trying to get cars out of service. And I'm sure we'll talk about that a little later with our special guest, but you have to be careful who is handling that conversation because your traditional salesman's first instinct is to go for the sale, right? And remember, if you're talking to customers in your service department, there's a very high possibility that's your best customer who bought the vehicle from you, who's using your service department. And you never want to alienate your best customer by coming at them unexpectedly when they think you're trying to talk them into a car sale, because they may not come back next time quite so quickly because they don't want to go through that every time they visit your dealership. It is very effective. You got to put some thought and effort into it. And it does matter who's handling the call. We had a whole program on that the other time. just 2 shows ago, right?
We did. So look at episode number 12. It's there. And so we answer some of that stuff that's there too. So
Yeah.
I love you, and we have a great conversation, but I also love having special guests.
We do.
So I always hand this off to you because you're very instrumental in getting some of these people onto Just the Facts. So why don't you introduce our guest today?
I will. And this one's special to us because it is, in Truth in Lending, this is one of our business partners. As a matter of fact, it is from Automotive Masterminds. We have Dave Peters with us, and Dave is a dealer relations manager. He started with Automotive Mastermind 4 years ago, started in the business actually in 97. He has 24 years worth of experience, and he's couldn't think of a better partner to have. So David, welcome to the show.
Hey, Dave.
Guys, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Bob TJ, it's going to be great.
Yeah. We're the whole premise of today's program is to talk about that service and sales relationship, right? So we're honored that you're here, and certainly Automotive Mastermind goes into the back of the house a lot more than Carfax does. We have products, but you guys concentrate on that side of the business. So I'm just gonna ask you a general question that we're getting asked a lot because we have 30,000 dealer partners. So they ask us for help quite often. One of the things that they're struggling with today is that relationship between, the sales and the service department. I kind of gave my 2 cents worth earlier. Do you have anything you could add to that a little bit? Maybe looking at it from the fixed op side of the business?
Well, I think one of the most effective things that I've seen is having a liaison kind of that works, both sides, if you will. They're not necessarily a salesperson, not necessarily a service writer, but a person that could approach a customer in a nice way. I know you had just mentioned the fact that you don't want to come too salesy, too in their face when it comes to that. So somebody that has a good delivery and will present some of the options on just that vehicle exchange could be beneficial for the dealership.
Yeah, that's a good point. So oftentimes you're either one or the other, right? You're either a fixed ops side of the business person or you're variable side or sales side.
That's correct. Yeah.
But with each passing year in the marketplace, those positions are getting more and more morphed together. And to your point, we have had several dealers tell us that they did put a person in who is just kind of a generalization person rather than having a high stakes in either the way the fixed ops side of the business is going or the variable side of the business is going. And, the makeup and of the personality of that person, you want them to be a little more laid back and just a little more factual. So that's a great point. One other question we're getting asked a lot, and we are doing a lot of product adjustments for this, and that is the current inventory crunch, going in the industry today.
Sure.
Right. And we teach our dealers to control the controllables, that being their trade-ins, their lease returns, and the service department. Right. We have products for that. You have products for that. But at the end of the day, is there one or two things that you've heard out in the field that has helped dealers in gaining inventory, just in general practices, not necessarily the tools they're using, but what are some of the adjustments they've had to make internally?
I think one of the biggest mistakes that dealerships make is not to contact everybody. So generally, whatever technology you're using, you'll see, who's coming into your service department, what type of vehicle they have. You're doing yourself a disservice if you're not reaching out to those customers. You know what types of vehicles are best for your inventory. And to not have somebody, dedicated to call these people before they come in, ask for that complimentary appraisal, start that conversation earlier before they're actually in the service department, I think is a great start, because keep in mind, if you're not calling your customers, somebody else is, right? So it's very similar to what you teach your sales guys. So when you're talking about teaching a salesperson, hey, if you want to sell X amount of cars, you need to make this many calls. If your closing ratio is X, you're kind of backing into it.
Right.
Same premise with vehicle acquisition.
Okay. One thing that we had heard that Mastermind is working on, and maybe as the leader, in fact, in this one, is the behavior prediction, right? Behavior prediction. So with the amount of traffic going into service today, you really wouldn't go after every single one with the same amount of vigor. You kind of want to be a little more selective, whether it's the type of cars you're looking for or the type of person that might be more in line with that, right? Would you want to touch base on that a little bit? And what is the importance of what is referred to as behavioral prediction?
Well, sure. I mean, I think what everybody and every consumer wants is to be treated like an individual, right? So the fact that you know a little more about to make that conversation, let's say a little more micro targeted, is only going to help the process, right? So let's say you have Bob and DJ coming into your service department at the same time, both with similar vehicles. The fact that I could talk about with DJ, hey, you're coming up on your mileage, it's this type of vehicle, it's exactly what we're looking for. All of those things come into a situation where maybe they're creeping up on their warranty. All that knowledge will enable you to have a more effective talk track and just a more educated conversation with these consumers.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
So I'm going to jump in. So Dave, on this, one of the things that I do on these is kind of challenge a little bit, like
sure,
back just a little bit on some things take a lot of time and some things also take a lot of revenue or money. So my profit margin is going to be even lower by hiring other people and doing other things. And why can't I just do this myself? And we know the answer is that from Carfax, but from you at Automotive Mastermind, like maybe you can speak to that a little bit of, bringing a third party in is so much more beneficial and going to save you more time, or does it?
Well, it does. And, it's all about again, like I was just talking about, being a little more educated on these consumers. It doesn't have to be a huge investment. And, although, I'm biased to the technology, the fact is that effort is a lot of what you need to do, and it doesn't need to be executive management effort. It could be someone as simple as, writing out little notes, handwritten notes to people coming into the service department. It could be, if you're doing a campaign, mailing these campaigns out to, service customers as well. But definitely on the technology side, it helps you fine tune and micro target that for a more effective reach.
No, that's great. And, one of the things here is, and I know you've been doing a great job of staying away from a commercial because we don't like to, to have a commercial or sell something.
Yes, sir.
Do that as Carfax. We want industry insights. But that being said, with our guests that we bring on, we love for you to be able to just talk about you for just a couple minutes or 30 seconds or whatever you want to do about.
Sure.
What does an Automotive Mastermind? How can you really help the dealers out there?
So Automotive Mastermind is a behavior prediction technology and marketing company that harnesses the power of IHS Market, and that helps our dealer partners close more loyalty, service to sales, conquest customers. And, in a sense, we have access to the data that, no other technology does. So, and, of course, I'm a little biased that, we offer the best in-store service than anybody else.
You're allowed to be biased. We don't mind, right? You're on because you're an expert. We expect you to be able to talk about it. So we welcome your opinion. Quite honestly, your opinion is value to us.
Yeah, and so we like to answer questions when we have some stuff on live, and so I know we have at least one out there. And so, producer back there, Cordell, do we have any comments that are out there, just so we can see if there are any comments that came through? Don't see any comments there, but we do have a question for you, Dave, and this is specific to Automotive Mastermind. So, and I'm guessing this might be from someone that uses maybe one of your competitors. So there are several competitors out there in your space, or maybe there's just a couple. Don't really know, but maybe can speak to that. And what separates Automotive Mastermind? If I want to take a look at Automotive Mastermind, what separates you from the competition that's out there?
Well, yeah, I mentioned the in-store service, kind of jokingly, but it is something that's near and dear to my heart. I do love being out there with my dealer partners and working with them, and trying to get that extra deal and that extra service drive sale. In addition, I would say for probably, look, the past year hasn't been great for a lot of people. But I will say that through that, Automotive Mastermind invested and, just put forward a lot of, innovating and stuff for the future. So I'm confident the fact that over the course of, the next ever how long, I know that what we've done this past year is going to set us up great for the future because of the investment and the hirings and all that kind of stuff that we've done through COVID.
Here's another question. People like talking to Mastermind, so this is cool. It says, what are you guys actually doing for dealers today? Everyone comes at us with different products and shiny new objects, and cutting. Everyone's got kind of that same general approach. So, what is Automotive Mastermind doing for the dealer today? What is different about what you're doing for them today?
Well, as strictly targeted toward inventory acquisition and stuff, I mean, you have to preface it with every dealership is kind of in a different scenario, right? I mean, I don't think inventory is great across the board, but there are certainly different levels of dealership inventory base and day supply and stuff like that for different makes and different models and all that. So what we did is we specifically targeted and created some specific marketing the past few months that for our dealerships that are, let's say, in a lesser position, it's just based off of inventory acquisition, right? So most of our marketing would have a replacement vehicle associated with it that allows a very clear, transparent message from going from one car to the next. But some dealerships are just not in that position, and we needed to put ourselves in a way where we can accommodate those. So that's one thing that we kind of targeted over the past 30, 60 days is to be able to help dealer partners with vehicle acquisition, just solely on the marketing side.
You know what? That makes a lot of sense because without question, the inventory acquisition has been number one concern for well over a year now, right? I have one quick question I wanted to get in there. We like to leave our dealers with just one or two things that they could take with them from this session. And we're very conscious of trying to keep it within time restraint. With that said, is there simply just one or two things from a basic level that a dealer can do today, in your opinion, that would help them acquire inventory? Forego the shiny objects and the tools, but is there one or two things that they could do today that would make a difference for them?
I would say both of them are based off of picking up the phone, right? So no matter what technology you're using, if any, whether it's, everybody has a CRM or at some point, right? Be able to kind of filter in that customer base and pick up the phone and ask. A lot of customers have that extra car, or maybe they're driving less or working from home and they don't need two cars and they could move to one. Use that verbiage of, vehicles are at, the highest price in a long time, however you want to scale it and spin it for your own dealership message. But picking up the phone, effort, don't make the decision for the customer. I think that's probably one of the biggest things that I see is that, I wouldn't do it, or, this customer's not going to go down from 2 to 1 car. It can't hurt to ask, and there's no reason not to pick up the phone, and it doesn't cost anything.
Well, that's great. And thank you so much, Dave, for your insight.
Thanks for having me.
We enjoyed this conversation. We always do with our guests. It's
yeah.
just an amazing conversation, and bringing some insights to the table has been, I think it's going to be very popular. And so especially this subject is going to be amazing for some of our dealer partners that are out there tuning into this. So thank you, Dave.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And thank you guys for listening. And so
I
always give you the last word. I always give you the last word.
Okay. I always look forward to the after party. But my last word would be this. First of all, thank you very much for joining us. We can't be experts on everything, which is why we rely on people like yourself to come in and give us some insights from a little different angle. And I also want to thank you for your one or two questions, because at the end of the day, it's the people that matter. Right. The number one thing people are looking for is another person. Stats are fine and percentages are fine and looking at objects, but it's the person delivering it that ultimately is the bottom line. Right. Who do you have holding those relationships? Who do you have communicating with the people? How are they holding that conversation? How are they presenting your dealership and what you're trying to do? So I'm glad you brought that in. And that's why we don't rehearse, right? We want things to be done. and I'm glad you went down that road. I totally 100% agree with you. It's the people that matter first, the process.
Agreed.
Yeah, 100%.
So if you are tuning in right now, we want to thank you. And we're going to close out the presentation part of this and that conversation, the discussion that we've had. And we're going to stick around for a few minutes and answer.
That's what I like to do the most.
And I know you do, for the after party, to just talk about in a casual atmosphere.
Absolutely.
So stick around if you want to stick around for some of these questions.
Most people do.
Some people do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we like that. So
absolutely.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.
All right. So we're just going to go right into it.
Oh,
right?
No countdown.
So,
this is good.
No. So there's no countdown. I think we're just going to go right into a discussion. We like this type of atmosphere, Dave, just because we can ask you anything and you can answer however you want.
So good luck, Dave.
Let's do it. Yeah. Be prepared, right?
Yeah. Just be prepared. So, we talked a little bit about Automotive Mastermind and what separates you from the competition. But if you've got like those 3 highlights, or maybe it's just 2 highlights of, this is what we do best, and dealers, they really should be using us in this way, what would those 2 things be? Or maybe you got 3.
Well, the data is second to none, right? So any behavior prediction technology, or anything that's mining your current customer database, the more precise you can get into your message and relaying is going to be the best received, is my opinion. And as far as what separates us, the second thing, my favorite, is the user interface, right? So it was designed by people in the car industry that actually sat at the tower, sat at the desk. And that's one of my favorite things. It's very clear. It's very easy to get the information that you want. And that's absolutely hands down my favorite.
I wanted to ask you your opinion on something. I know you guys visit a lot of dealers and you're going through the back service, and we get asked quite often recently from dealers, again, the whole inventory thing, it seems to go back.
Sure.
And we share best practices, like putting a list inside the drive of the vehicles you're looking for, partnering up with your service advisors so they know what you're looking for, and maybe biffing them, right? Because if you're going to pay a finder to go find you some cars, well, there's your best source right there. And I want to ask you the critical part. Carfax highly promotes what we call homegrown inventory. We know that homegrown inventory is the fastest selling, most profitable, right? And it's
no doubt.
Proverbial, you sold it new, you did all the service work on it, now it's for sale new. Can you lend to that from what you've seen out there? I know it's a Carfax term calling it homegrown, and we promote, quite honestly, maybe too much, not in my opinion, but others seem to think that. But would you add to that conversation?
Well, sure. And a lot of it's so wide too, because not many people are going to the auction right now. So you have to find other avenues to get, inventory for your pre-owned lot. So, I would say, don't discredit previous pre-owned buyers. If you're short on new car inventory, but you still need vehicles to come in, pre-owned to pre-owned, if you have CPOs available, you have it in stock, try to look through your system to find previous customers that maybe were in that segment sedan that had 20,000 miles on it. It was 2 years old when they bought it. Try to find a current pre-owned vehicle that matches that. Yeah. Obviously lease returns and all that kind of stuff coming out further with with vehicle pricing the way it is. I mean, some leases have equity and stuff like that now, where you can, if you were normally going 60 days out, maybe it's 90, maybe it's 120,
Yeah, the used car index has vehicles up 25, 30, 40%.
Sure.
So, the old proverbial you're upside down or it's too early to trade out may not necessarily be the case. And that could be the point for the reason of the conversation, right? Because the consumer's not going to know that.
Well, and it's funny because a lot of the dealerships don't know either. The mentality is not there, right? So I've seen some dealerships that maybe have a certain segment, like you're looking at this vehicle, and that's normally what they would do, but they're not really looking at the better package of that vehicle that they can actually get into at the same price, and they actually have these in stock. So don't be afraid to kind of work outside the box when looking for replacement models.
Yeah, it is interesting because in the industry, we tend to get a little pigeonholed, and we like the 1 or 2 models that we think are bulletproof and they sell the best. So those are the 2 we're always looking for. When the other models in today's world, the inventory selection is so reduced that people are looking at vehicles that they may not have considered before because what they ideally wanted is not available or is up 40%, right? So don't be afraid to offer up something a little different or something that maybe they wouldn't have considered before, because they'll certainly consider it now, especially
absolutely
cars being at such short supply.
Exactly. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And even with newer models coming out, example and point is I know Volkswagen has a new small Taos coming out, a little small SUV, and a lot of maybe vehicles that they don't have, maybe Jettas or small sedans, can be call those customers. It's not as tough to get people from a sedan maybe to an SUV, since that's the most popular segment nowadays.
Yeah. Am I hogging, D?
You are.
Okay.
I mean, I was going with it. It was really good.
I enjoy hearing the information.
And I know you love this. party,
I
and
do.
so I was just ready to walk off stage here and just let you. I'm stalling right now because I even forgot what my question was.
Well, then
gonna
I'll
be.
go back to
Actually,
it.
no, I
Oh,
actually
there you
know.
go.
Yeah, so, yeah. He got me. So I want to take things from a consumer point of view, because I know you have a ton of data, as we do with IHS, and having that whole market portfolio, right? And having on that access to a lot of even what consumers think. One of my questions would be is what keeps a consumer with all of your experience away from that consumer, away from the dealership when it comes to service? Because we hear things like it's too expensive. We hear things like, I had a bad experience before. But in your opinion and what you're seeing out there, what does drive a consumer back to a dealership, and what keeps them away?
Well, I mean, you just mentioned it. It could be any number of things that could drive somebody away, a bad experience. And keep in mind, in service, you don't really know anybody that is thrilled to go. So you're already kind of on that slippery slope of, maybe it's expensive or what have you. But there are all kinds of things that dealerships can do to to kind of help with that. But again, a lot of it is just, from what I'm seeing, it's coming out of COVID is more of a, historically 2 years ago, somebody was coming into the service department, somebody can meet them, shake their hand, but now a lot of vehicles and a lot of stuff is being done remotely, with remote pickups and, kind of on some of the luxury brands, you have all that all the time. So it's more the lack of face-to-face that I'm seeing with some dealerships having a tough time even having the conversation. If you were talking about inventory acquisition or anything like that, it just makes things a little more difficult doing it on a remote basis.
And I think we miss that sometimes, of seeing like how different it really is. Like we're so sick of it, we don't want to talk about it, right? It's
Yeah,
and it becomes that, but it really is a challenge.
it is. Yeah. So, and some dealerships are, getting to. I was talking about the vehicle exchange coordinator, but it doesn't even have to be, that elaborate. If you have a customer coming in and they rank high on your meter on a vehicle that you'd like to have, or maybe it is time for a vehicle and they have something, you have something in stock. Don't be afraid to put something in an envelope and kind of leave it for them with the RO, or if they're being dropped off on the vehicle, have it with the RO, so it's sent to them, and then do a follow-up call in a couple of days. There's nothing saying that you can't say, hey, Mr. Customer, I left you some information. I just wanted you to, absorb it for a couple of days. I'll give you a call, just to kind of go over those vehicle options if you wanted to. It's easy enough to do.
Yeah, here at Carfax, quite honestly, we have as a tremendous consumer confidence and in the consumer following. We created a hang tag, co-branded hang tag that dealers can say, we just appraised your vehicle, here it is, and it's on a Carfax hang tag, just trying to keep the onus off of trying to sell somebody something.
Yeah.
On them or coming at them from a traditional angle. It's a relatively new program. We made them available as of the 7th, but we're already getting a tremendous amount of feedback because consumers just really didn't understand how much used cars have gone up because they weren't in the market for one. So they don't realize how much theirs is worth today. Maybe they even came to your dealership even 6 months ago. Well, it's gone up 10 or 15 more % since then. So that's an amazing stat. And that's just one way we're trying to help take the onus off of approaching that conversation. Again, that's just a hang tag, but it seems to be working rather well, partly because of our brand, but also partly because of the approach.
Well, yeah, anything that you could do that, like you were talking about, not salesy. I've heard of some dealerships that were, creating social media events that were just basically drive-through vehicle exchange, appraisal stations. Don't even have to get out of your car. You just drive up. They'll take a walk around, make it an event, and you walk away with your value. So same premise, but then they have it in their hand and they can make an educated decision. Like you said, chances are, if they haven't had a vehicle or a number in the last 6 months, it'd be drastically different than what it was.
100%. Well, that's great. This has been fun.
It has been fun. It's been good, even though I have to sit next to you. Just kidding. We got to get you out here sometime, Dave.
I love it.
Studio.
Let's do it.
Him this time. He didn't want to come.
Yeah, that's all right. We have a couch that's sitting right over here. You can't see in our shot, or a chair right there. So anytime, you are welcome back. We'd love to have
you guys. Let me know.
here in Henderson. Again, thank you. We're at the 30-minute mark, so I think we're going to go ahead and cut things off right here. Any final words? Because you gave a final word to some of our guests. Some people may have stuck around. They're still listening to us. Yeah. What's that final nugget from you, Mr. Bob Grill?
Thank you. And by that, I mean, everyone's been in a strenuous situation for the last year and a half. And you know what? People are, whether it's hope, whether it's just tired of listening to the negative publicity out there, whether it's tired of listening to the negative news, everyone seems to be getting their game back. And, you know, anything can happen. There's no way to predict the future, but you can predict yourself, right? How you go about your business, how you treat others, how you are open to change. Because if you're not, you're going to be in trouble, you know, with the latest stuff going on. So we appreciate your attitude coming on today. We appreciate the way you talked and conducted yourself. So you've been a very great guest for us. So thank you for that, David.
Guys, thank you so much. I appreciate it. It was a blast.
Thanks again. And thank you for tuning in to Just the Facts, episode number 14. We'll see you on the next round on episode number 15. And if you want to watch any of our previous episodes, you can go to our YouTube channel called Just the Facts.
All right. Be safe, everybody.